Hi, Joe. Welcome back,
Hello,
everyone, to
Nan.
this sort of a bonus episode.
Bonus. Yep.
Yeah. Um, we were thinking it would be fun to talk about some background and behind the scenes kinds of things, some things about Joe and me that are most people wouldn't know probably. And also, there was something important that I wanted to talk about too before we go into that, and that is just the um, the mental health aspect of the book, which really I haven't talked about very much in all of the episodes that we've done before. But we all are very aware of the mental health crisis for children that we're in right now, and statistics are like mind blowing. And I see it for sure. I have more referrals that, like during the pandemic, I had sort of my usual caseload. And then first year after the maybe 21, 22, I still kind of had my usual caseload. But for some reason, this year it has exploded. And so there's something like that's coming out differently this year at school, at home, with me in my sessions, more social skills referrals from families. So I haven't quite figured out what that is, but clearly a reflection of the mental health status, the well-being of our children today, and the limited resources that we have for supporting them. So that's one of the reasons why I've put so much time and effort into these episodes for this, to try to get word and messages out to families working with kids so they know how to use the book to help their own kids. And also because they have more information about what's in the story. Because I don't think it's that easy to just pull all of that information out. But since I'm the author of it and Joe and I worked on it together, we have a lot more to share about what's in the story. Not only is there information in those videos, but also on the website, thebadgesofpower.com. There's so many worksheets and so many fun activities for kids, and even more support and resources for the adults. So I really encourage everyone to go there. Again, that's sort of my effort to make a contribution to making the mental health crisis for children a little bit less of lower the statistics a little bit and provide the support that families need. So that's a big mission and goal of mine, and I know for Joe as well. And so the thing that I've learned and that I hear when I listen to experts on podcasts and webinars and so forth, it's really, really clear to me that the role that adults play in the child's life, which is a little bit about what you talked about in the last episode, Joe, also, it's so important. And kids need the adult guidance. They don't know what to do. They're just kids. And they need the modeling that we as adults can provide, whether it's as a teacher, as a therapist, as a parent, as a grandparent. They need to know that they have boundaries to work within, and that we as adults know what to do. And I think that can be really, really hard in this very complex environment that we're living in right now. It's really hard to know what to do. And with the amount of stress that everyone is still feeling, it's really hard for adults to not only know what to do, but actually have taken care of themselves enough during the day to know, and the week and the weeks and months, all of that, to have a way through meditation, through prayer, through exercise, through time on their own, massages, whatever it is that helps, so that there is emotional generosity available to share with the child, your own calm to be able to share with a child who's upset about something. And so, because I feel like that is such a big piece of success for children, I came up with 3 tips that I thought would be important to share. And one is kind of what I already said. It's so important to get sleep as an adult, to get the time to yourself that you need, to be able to do that self-care, which sometimes is kind of an overused word, I think. But I do hear many of the families I'm working with talk about, I need that time before the day starts to myself. It makes my day go better, more smoothly, because I've done what I need for the day, or I've gotten out and got my exercise, or I was able to make some changes in my work so that I have a little bit more time to do the things that make me feel like I'm there for my child. And so what we're looking for is ways to, tools, ways to help families feel like their home environment is calm, predictable, that there's structure and that there are limits. And when those kinds of things are in place, it's so much easier for children to learn and to thrive. So that's one tip. Another tip is just taking care of yourself, getting your needs met. Another one is not just this book that Joe and I have worked on together, and not just the other books that now are posted on my website, a hop, skip, and a jump ahead.com/books, that has all the books that are going to be coming out. Hopefully most of them, if not all of them, in 2024 on social emotional learning. They're all about mental health for kids. Those books I'll be doing, there will be more. Joe and I will do some of the more episodes like this that we've done for Mission Control, A Big Feelings Adventure, starting with Tijuana Mañana, the Anxious Iguana, because I think it's valuable to have more insight and more behind the scenes information when reading books to children. There will be lots of resources online as well for both parents and kids. So all of that is coming. And I want to provide that additional information on the website, as well as some webinars, some episodes like this, because I think it's so important for kids to be able to benefit from the messages that are in those books. But mine, of course, are not the only books out there that have those messages, but they're conversation starters for kids. And that's what I'm really hoping, that parents can use the books that they see that are coming out more and more now for social emotional learning to help the mental wellness of kids. And so the more parents are aware of the kinds of messages that are often built into books, the more they can have that as a conversation with kids, and more they can think about those during the day and build that into the successes into their day, praise into their day, guidance and lessons into the day, not something in addition, but I have awareness of these kinds of things that make a difference in a child's life. All the things that we've been talking about for the last 6 episodes on the Mission Control series. And so I think that helps if parents have those top of mind as they're working with their children. What is the big goal as a parent that you have in mind that you want, and how do you actually take the steps to get there? So that's what the books that I've written are intended to do, is to give awareness to what matters to kids. How can you let them know that you're there available for them? How can you help them learn from their mistakes? How can you help them grow? Those kinds of things are all the kinds of things that I'm trying to help kids and families learn about, so that they can continue to thrive despite the environment that we're really struggling with right now, thanks to COVID. So do you have any other thoughts on, well, there was one other thing, and then Joe, I wondered if you wanted to share anything also. And that is that sometimes that these challenges that families are having do require more than just what self-care and reading books, of course, can accomplish. Those are things that make a difference for sure. But sometimes there's more support that's needed. And that's when it's a good idea to reach out to a professional who can work individually with you. What we're talking about is very generic, and it's not geared to a particular child or a particular family. And that's the difference. There's lots of things that are different about working with a professional who can help with the mental health of of children, of families, for the wellness and for moving forward. So I'm just encouraging people to not hesitate to reach out, because there is support out there for families who are looking for that. So, Joe, do you have thoughts on that? I'm sure you do.
Well,
Yeah.
going back, just kind of going back to what I said in the earlier segment, that being a teacher and technology support person and being a dad, what I see a lot of is, and I talked to my daughter about this too, because she's a teacher, and it's the fact that we just can't expect the kids just to learn these things on their own. We have to be intentional.
Mm.
And I was a very hands-on dad and work with my kids. And yeah, it's not easy. You have to make a commitment. And I don't, even though I'm so involved with technology, I'm not going to make the iPad the babysitter.
Yeah.
And I know it has its place, but when my kids were little, I had the technology around me, but that wasn't going to just let them sit there, plugging along, and doing their own thing. It's like I wanted to be involved with my kids' lives, and it's like I hear and I see a lot of it where it's just parents aren't as involved with their kids as much as they should be. And I think it's a detriment to the kids. It's like they want that, they need that, and they um they need the boundaries, they need the guidance. And um I know as a parent, it's like I didn't want someone else having to teach those things to my kid when that's really my responsibility.
Mm.
And I a lot of my ideas for drawing and stuff came with sitting down with my kids and drawing with them and spending time with them. And that's the thing, that's something you don't get, you'll never get that back, is spending good quality time with their kids, because they do grow up so fast. And if we can raise them the right way and have them think in a way that they're always learning, and I feel like that's part of like what we're doing here with this book. It's just, this is just one little snippet of the entire picture. Okay, here's one thing: self-control. And how to respond to that, how do we demonstrate that in a way that the kids are going to, when at least when Nan's working with them, or whoever picked up the book and buys them off of Amazon, or if they have them in the library, what are they going to get out of this? Instead of it just being fluff,
Uh-huh.
this is something that's could be not life changing, but life question how you're approaching life when bad things happen, or if you're losing self-control, or you're involved with something and someone tries to take you away from something that you like. So
Mm.
it kind of runs the gamut there. So if this book can help in a way for parents and for Nan's practice, hey, that's a plus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. Yeah. It's rough. And your children grew up still in a generation a little bit different than my children, but then today's parents, the children are growing up in such a difficult
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
And
it's sad. It's sad in a way.
it's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same at all. And it has been a huge learning curve for me to keep up with that since the pandemic. So I've always had to be in that learning mode myself, because things have changed over the almost 28 years next month of being a therapist, and certainly over the years since I used to teach before I even became a therapist. Like, things have changed so much in schools and it just in the world, that it's really, really so much different. And like, technology is only one of the things that is very, very
Yeah.
different and much, much more difficult for kids. So they are needing the guidance, like you're saying, Joe, even more now than ever before.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so
definitely.
parents taking the time to think through what are my values? What do I want to pass on to my kids? It's really the most important time ever for families to take the time to think through that, because then you do go through your day with those thoughts in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You can weather the ups and downs of a meltdown here and there, or even if there's a lot of meltdowns here and there, you still have your eye on the prize,
Mm-hmm.
like what's your goal at the end of this, and how can you manage to help your child grow and learn from that, and what do you learn from it yourself? Because boy, we all know parenting brings up a lot of things about ourselves that gives us a chance to learn in a different way, in a new way that we didn't do when we were younger. And
Right.
so there's certainly ways that we are continuing to grow. And I'm continuing to grow through writing all these books, and through every day, every session that I have, I'm learning something and being able to apply it and to the next session with the kids I'm working with in some form or another. So it is, it's the way I guess it is with life.
Yeah.
And children just need us to help be that light for them, to help guide them through life and those challenges like Joseph has in his book, in the book.
Yeah.
So you know, you and I started connecting over this because I think we had a common interest in this kind of thing through our jobs and our backgrounds, and also just our values and our understanding of what could we make of this, what difference could we make in the world in doing this. And I think I remember clearly that first meeting, like I had no idea what I was doing when I was trying to find an illustrator for the book, and you guided me a lot in knowing like this is what I can do. And so through that whole process of writing that book, I learned so much from you that has been valuable to me. And even when we do these episodes, I still like, oh, I didn't know that, Joe. That's cool to know. And so having, like, I think you know a lot about what's in my mind because I did most of the talking, and you've heard me present and things like that before. But it's always interesting to me to hear what you've done with your artwork, and it adds so much to the story. But what's still amazing to me is that I wrote the story, which was like less than 2 pages, right? It was just sort of like, here's the story idea, and it didn't have dialogue or anything in it. And then separately, pretty much separately, you came up with the whole idea, like you kind of illustrated it all by yourself. And I remember thinking, this is not how my brain works. Like I at all like you. I don't have all that comic book history and all the superhero movies that you like to watch. And I have nothing familiar to draw from.
Yeah.
Really to study those drawings and think, what are the messages here that are in the drawings that I can, like, what have you illustrated here, and what are the messages? And the most wonderful thing is that I think, unbeknownst to you, you set me up for being able to pull out all these messages that are in there, and that make it really easy for me to explore with every child in a different way how they can relate to the story. So whether it's a child who's having difficulty with screen time, or a child who doesn't want to do his homework or her homework, or if it's a child who is not wanting to put on the clothes because it's a little hard, or a child who is disappointed or because they didn't get a cookie before dinner, or they have to wait to have a turn to share something, or to whether it's a toy, they don't want to wait for their sibling to finish playing with the toy. They don't want to wait until after dinner to do something. All those kinds of things are really, really hard for kids. But no matter what the big challenge is, because every family comes with different kinds of concerns in their family, which makes the therapy, of course, very alive and vibrant for me. It keeps me on my toes, because I have to be able to think on the spot about all different kinds of situations that parents bring to me. But in every single one of those situations, I can use the book. to help the child grow from that experience, and therefore also help the adult know how to guide the child a little bit more. So that's the most amazing thing about the book to me, is that that's possible. Whereas in a lot of books, there's a text to read, and yeah, that information, of course, is in there, and it can be applied in lots of different situations. But because there's so few words in this and it's all about pictures, there's so many ways to interpret that, and so open-ended. And so I think in some ways parents might feel it's a little difficult to read, which is why I put as many resources as I have on the website and done these episodes here. And because I think that it does take some thinking through, and it does take some awareness of what is in there and how can I use that to help build skills for my child. So, so I, every time I read the book, like I remember I said to you about 4 months ago, like, oh, this book needs an upgrade because the kinds of challenges are, well, it doesn't need an upgrade, but I just mean like it is being taxed to its maximum because the challenges kids are going through just keep getting harder and harder. Yet the book is holding up to the challenges, but I'm having to work harder to pull that out and relate it for the kids, because challenges that they're going through are, they just continue to get bigger and harder for them. And so I'm really doing a lot of personal helping the kids develop their own character through the book, asking them hard questions like, do you want to be like Joseph, and what would it take for you to be like Joseph? Every kid wants to be like Joseph, but they don't know how. And so that's what I'm doing with them. That's the character development in them, and knowing like that's hard, acknowledging that and showing empathy for the situation, and sort of that trite phrase of I see you, I hear you, like that is what they're looking for, is someone who says, I see how hard that is for you to pack up your backpack and get your shoes on and get out the door. I see that. It's not an easy thing for you to do. I wonder how I can make it easier for you, how I can make the demand smaller and the support greater, those kinds of things. That's what I'm trying to help families know. Like there are so many ways that can that things can be done to help facilitate success with children. But it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of time, and a lot of planning through and working things out, and communication with their child. And that's just not something that comes easily or that many people have experience with. So, or training, like background. And so most of what I know is by the seat of my pants, and that I've learned.
Yeah, me too. I mean, being self-taught, and you know, that was like my escape, was what, honestly, stories were my escape. And when I was a kid, and growing up with comic books and movies, I mean, it was huge to me. And I think that's why I love you know, stories and reading and drawing and books and anything creative where you're throwing, you know, taking you someplace you've never been to before. And that's why I think I loved like science fiction as a kid, and Godzilla and Ultraman and Batman and Spider-Man. And that was my go-to. And you know, I can totally see a lot of myself in Joseph, as far as like going to this imaginary world. And both my brother and I, you know, we have plans on working on our own book, kind of based on our childhood. But yeah, I think, you know, as far as like you and I, you know, connecting and doing this book, and then having the other books planned, it was, for me, it was more of a bucket list. You know, I always have a list of goals that I want to do. I want to play guitar. I want to, you know, learn another language. I want to, you know, and one of them was to do a children's book. And fortunately, you and I connected and I did do one book before this one, and it was like a 3-week thing, and it didn't turn out to be it's on Amazon, but it's like, it was a freebie. But that got the juices going, it's like, now I want to do a real children's book. So I'm glad that it was this one, that it was a meaty book, and it's now we have the 6 books planned, and I have 2 other ones coming out in January, February of next year. So
and I've seen the pictures on one of them, and they're just fantastic. Like,
yeah, it's fun, and it's made my drawing, I think, stronger. When I look at Joseph and the way I did a few things, it's like, I always call it, I get this from my old job, as CBB. We'd be in reviews on looking over animation footage, and the one note that it was like, how come this says CBB? What does CBB mean? And it's like, could be better.
oh,
So it's like, I look at some of the page that I grade it myself. It's like,
yeah.
CBB, but it works. So I'm not gonna. It's like, I'll get it next time. So
Well,
it's
we
like,
don't see it, Joe, but the messages come through loud and clear for
yeah,
sure. Yeah. But
yeah,
like, when we all feel that way, I mean, that never ends.
yeah. That never ends. Every day it's the same. Oh, this day could have been better, but whatever.
Yeah. I did the
Don't be,
best I could, which is the
don't be
best.
so yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just you get it the next day.
Well, you mentioned a little bit about the next series. We could maybe wind up our conversation today by talking about the next one that we have partially done a storyboard on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one. I mean, I'm really excited for it because it's going to be funny for
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
I think.
For sure.
And again, very relatable. And it's about the brain and about what happens in our brains when something like what happened to Joseph, or how Joseph responded in this book, excuse me, about what happens in the brain. Because my main message to kids is for parents is connection matters. And that's a big piece in that next book, connecting with the child. It's in this book, Mission Control, Big Feelings Adventure, that it's definitely in there. Joseph is connected to Gretchen. Joseph is connected to his mom. That makes all the difference for him. And so we're going to explore that a little bit. And also helping kids understand, like, just because you had that big reaction doesn't make you a quote unquote bad kid.
Right.
Because kids tend to think that they're either good kids or bad kids. And they tend to go more have that negative bias. And so part of the purpose of that book is to help kids understand, like, that's what your brain is there for, to protect you, even though you and I as adults might not see how that could feel like a threat. Turn off the TV. To children, that can feel like a threat. And it's a perception, like, it feels like a threat to me. So the brain doesn't know the difference. So it reacts in a shutdown or fight or flight kind of freeze kind of thing. So it's going to explore a little bit about that. But also the other book that we've worked on, Tijuana Mañana, The Anxious Iguana, that's a big feature of that. And another big part of that is, well, what do you do with that? And so that's a big messaging. There's a lot of messaging, like, what do you do with that? There's some of that in this book, Mission Control, A Big Feelings Adventure. What do we do when we have those feelings? And how do we grow from it? And that's a continued message in Tijuana Mañana, The Anxious Iguana. And to add a little bit to the story, we've created a journal to go along with the Tijuana story, to help kids know, like, here is something, you can make a plan. Tijuana made a plan with his mom in the story of what to do to make it easier for him. And so Tijuana's created a journal that kids can also complete using Tijuana's example to help them with an adult in their life who will help guide them through situations. So that journal could be used over and over again for different situations. Just depends on what the problem is that needs a little bit of attention and guidance.
Yep. Yeah, the next book is going to be, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So
No,
there's Easter egg characters in this book that are going to be a big player in the next book. So, but
oh yeah, yeah.
do we want to talk about that, or I mean, they can see it if they look hard enough.
Oh, you could give a hint, maybe.
Well, if you look in the scene, there's a couple of scenes in the book where Robojo is fighting the Hypnotron. If you look really closely in the rocks, you'll see one of our characters, actually 7 of our characters that are going to be.
Can you tell me exactly which page?
Right, go back one. Right there. So the lower, right there.
We won't tell you. You and your child can hunt for it. But what are they hunting for, Joe?
If we zoom, can you zoom in on yeah, on that corner?
Oh,
you're close.
On the wrong page now. I don't know, Joe.
Right there. There you go. It was that page right there. Now go. Can you scan down or no?
You were looking for the rocks, right?
Yeah, but that might be too far away. It's the next, I think it's the next page. There's one of them.
Oh, good. I got it.
So that little guy right there, if you can see him, you see that, Nan?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too big.
It's the Kelvinites.
Yeah, right. There's one.
Yep. And there's usually,
and there's one down here.
Yeah, there's usually when I include them, there are 7 of them.
Yeah.
And those are the Kelvinites. And so you won't be able to see what they look like until the next book.
Yeah.
But they serve a purpose.
Yeah, there's a good view of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look on some of the pages, you'll see that they're around there. And so that was just like a little Easter egg. But now going to the next book, I decided it's like, you know what, this would be kind of cool to incorporate them. And yeah, so that's, and that's part of the fun of creating, right? So it's like, hey, why don't we just do this or add this? It was just a little thing to add to the story. But then when we started talking about the next book, it's like, I'm going to flesh this out a little bit. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what makes it fun to work with you. You're a big imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I use more of my left side of the brain. You use more of your right side of the brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Yours equally, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Someone called me a Renaissance man the other day. It's like, yeah, I'll stick. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. So we've got an event coming up next month. The date hasn't been set exactly yet, but it's going to be another opportunity to connect with us, and also an opportunity to learn more about, maybe this would be something that you'd like to purchase for young children in your family, or children at school, or in the community as gifts, giveaways, or something like that. The book has in the website, so people, if they buy the book or have the book, will know where they can go to get all the extra bonuses that we have online for the kids and for the adults. Lots and lots of fun activities for the kids to reinforce the messages and to have conversations. They're conversation starter kind of activities for kids. And some of them are just plain fun, but they also teach a message. They have a message with them. So those are things that are extras, freebies that come along with buying the book. Of course, you can go to the website, thebadgesofpower.com, and see all those resources anyway. You don't have to buy the book. But if you do have the book and you decide to buy it for someone, it gives the website, so that you want to make sure that people know about that website and or can take advantage of that. And then also on the website, a hop, skip, and a jump ahead.com/books, there are all the books that are going to be coming out listed with a short description. And then also on that same website, a hop, skip, and a jump ahead.com, if you go to the tab videos, you can see all 6 of the videos that we've just done, one for each character in the book. So if anybody's interested in being able to extract more information about what's in the book and be able to be more aware and knowledgeable when you're reading the story to kids and know more about what kinds of messages you can be trying to reinforce with your own children, the thought-provoking messages for the videos and activities that are meant to be provocative and generate conversation. So hopefully that's, we'll see everyone again next month when we have one more event that's getting planned right now. It'll probably be early December, and it'll be more of a chance for Q&As for anybody who comes. Joe and I will be here to answer questions about the book.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds like something to look forward to next month, and we'll plan to connect then, Joe.
All right.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.